Imagine a vast stone chamber, illuminated only by the flickering of torches on the walls. There, sitting on a majestic throne, is a man who was one of the greatest kings in history. His hands, once strong enough to wield swords and unify a kingdom, now rest trembling in his lap. This is King David, known for defeating giants and writing the Psalms that still echo in temples around the world. But today, he is not the hero everyone remembers. He is a fragile, vulnerable man facing the final chapters of his life. Next to him, a young woman stands out. She doesn't wear crowns or armor. Her presence is simple and graceful. You might wonder, who is she? Why is a young woman like her by the side of such a powerful king in a moment of such fragility? The answer is hidden in one of the most mysterious and least spoken stories of the Bible. This young woman is Abishag, and she played a crucial role in the final moments of David. But what exactly happened between them? Could she have been just a caregiver, or perhaps something more? Her story carries profound lessons, both about the power of humility and how small acts of service can have gigantic repercussions. Before we go any further, let me ask you, have you ever stopped to think about the moments when the most powerful people in history needed help? Not soldiers or advisors, but someone willing to stand by their side, offering care, warmth, and presence in times of weakness. It is precisely here that Abishag's story begins. Abishag was chosen among many for a simple yet extremely symbolic task: to care for the king. Her role was not to govern, not to advise, but simply to be present. In a world where power is often associated with grand gestures and spectacular victories, she reminds us of something we often forget: the power of care. But the story doesn't end there. Abishag's role goes beyond simply keeping the king warm during the cold nights. Her presence becomes a key piece in a silent battle for the throne, involving intrigues, ambitions, and spiritual inheritances. In this video, we will explore the details of this fascinating story. Let's uncover who Abishag was, what she really meant to King David, and why her seemingly small story is so powerful even today. Because, just like Abishag, we all have moments when we are called to serve, even if we do not fully understand the impact of our actions on the grand plan of history. Get ready, for we are about to dive into one of the most intriguing and lesser-known chapters of David's life. And perhaps in the end, you will discover that the lessons left by this young woman can still inspire profound changes in how we see our own role in the world. Now that we have understood the introduction to this fascinating story, it is time to delve into the historical and cultural context surrounding Abishag and King David. Let's go back in time to the ancient kingdom of Israel, where the social and political dynamics were very different from those we know today. Abishag, according to the Bible, came from Shunem, a small village located in the territory of the tribe of Issachar in the north of Israel. Shunem was known for its simplicity and tranquility, a place far from the hustle and bustle of the great cities and palaces. Imagine a place where people lived modestly, dedicated to agriculture and livestock, far from the intrigues and complexities of court life. When King David's advisors decided to find a young woman to take care of him, they did not search in Jerusalem, the bustling capital and symbol of royal power. Instead, their attention turned to the more remote regions, where purity and humility still prevailed. It was in this context that Abishag was chosen. She was not a noble, nor did she have political ambitions. Her life was simple, but her role would become extraordinary. But why exactly was Abishag chosen? The Bible gives us clues about this. Her youth, beauty, and purity were seen as ideal qualities for someone who would not only need to care for the king, but also bring a sense of calm and dignity in the final moments of his life. In a time where symbolism played a crucial role, The presence of Abishag beside David represented a renewal of vitality, even amidst fragility. Now think about this in the current context. Around the world, millions of people take on roles similar to that of Abishag, caring for the elderly, leaders, or loved ones in moments of vulnerability. Reflecting on this, it is impossible not to admire the timeless symbolism of Abishag. She reminds us that in moments of weakness, strength can be found in care and compassion. Her story, seemingly simple, carries immense weight, showing that even those who come from humble beginnings can play transformative roles in history. But what did this mean for the politics and dynasty of Israel? That's when we begin to realize that Abishag was not just a young caretaker. Her presence in the royal court, even if discreet, would cause impacts that would echo in the struggle for the throne and in David's family dynamics. Get ready, because now we are going to explore how Abishag became a key player in the transition of power and how her presence influenced the most important decisions in King David's succession. After all, what seemed to be a simple role on the surface was, in fact, a symbol of something much greater. Abishag entered David's court at a crucial moment. The king, already in his final years, was frail and in poor health, while her presence beside David seemed to be just a gesture of care and comfort. Her arrival marked the beginning of a series of events that would transform the future of Israel. And that, my friends, is what makes this story so fascinating. David was not just a leader, he was the symbol of an era. Under his reign, the tribes of Israel were unified, Jerusalem became the capital, and the people gained a common identity. But with the passage of time, David's physical frailty began to affect his leadership. The kingdom was restless, and a question lingered in the air. Who would take the throne? Although Solomon, the son of David with Bathsheba, was the designated legitimate heir, another son, Adonijah, had his own plans. He saw his father's weakness as an opportunity and began to gather support to declare himself king. Now imagine the tension in the palace corridors. On one side, Adonijah conspiring with powerful allies, including Joab, the head of the army. On the other hand, David's advisors trying to protect the divine promise that Solomon would be the successor. And where does Abishag fit into this story? Her proximity to the king, even if for purely practical reasons, placed her at the center of this dispute. Adonijah knew that, in the eyes of the people, associating himself with someone so close to David would lend legitimacy to his movement. He was bold enough to ask for Abishag's hand in marriage after David's death, a gesture that, at that time, symbolized claiming the power of the previous king. That, of course, was a step too far. Solomon, already crowned as king, interpreted this request as a direct threat to his authority. He knew that if he allowed Adonijah to continue manipulating symbols and alliances, the stability of the kingdom would be at risk. It was a decisive moment, and Solomon acted with firmness. Adonijah was executed, marking the end of his ambition and consolidating the throne for the heir chosen by God. The story of Abishag, seemingly simple, reveals how discrete roles can carry immense political and symbolic weight. Although the Bible does not tell us much about her fate after these events, her impact was undeniable. She was a key element in the unfolding of the power transition in Israel. And this leads us to an important reflection. How many times do we underestimate the impact of our own actions? Just like Abishag, we might be playing roles that seem small, but have significant implications in the grand scheme of life. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt that your contribution, no matter how small, had a greater impact than you imagined? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss our upcoming episodes. Stories like this, full of meaning and learning, are what inspire us to explore even more the riches of the Bible. While the kingdom of Israel seemed to finally find stability with Solomon on the throne, the transition of power brought challenges and lessons that resonate to this day. The rise of Solomon was much more than a simple political event. It was a decisive moment that would shape the destiny of an entire nation. The presence of Abishag, discreet yet deeply symbolic, had already played its role in exposing Adonijah's ambition. But what happened after Adonijah's execution is equally fascinating. Solomon, newly crowned and facing the difficult task of unifying a kingdom weakened by intrigues and divisions, knew he needed to act quickly to consolidate his authority. Amidst this turmoil, Solomon's wisdom began to manifest. He took measures that went beyond eliminating immediate threats. Solomon reorganized the court and reinforced alliances to ensure that the stability of Israel would not be compromised again. It was in this context that he began to build his legacy, a legacy that would be remembered both for his wisdom and for his ability to lead. Now let's put this in historical perspective. Solomon ascended to the throne around 970 BC at a time when the Middle East was filled with warring kingdoms, unstable alliances, and constant territorial disputes. Israel, unified under the reign of David, was a young kingdom that needed strength and stability to establish itself among its powerful neighbors such as Egypt and Assyria. Solomon brought that stability, but in a unique way. He was not a warrior like his father. He was a strategist, a visionary. The famous story of his wisdom, the judgment between two women who claimed to be the mother of a baby, is just one example of how he earned the respect of his people. By using wisdom instead of brute force, Solomon won the heart of Israel and ensured that his reign was recognized for its justice. The connection with Abishag is still intriguing at this point. Although the Bible does not directly mention what happened to her after the events involving Adonijah, her story serves as a powerful reminder. Even the most silent roles can catalyze significant changes. Her presence helped reveal the tensions in the court, allowing Solomon to act before a civil war took shape. This dynamic has clear parallels in today's world. How many times do we ignore the small signs of tension or the people who play silent but essential roles in times of change? Think of any great leader or organization. Behind every significant decision, there are people who do not appear in the spotlight, but are fundamental to the success of a transition or achievement. As Solomon established himself as a leader, his ability to listen to advice, make strategic decisions, and protect the promises made to his father David were crucial. He knew that the throne was not just a symbol of power, but also of divine responsibility. God's promise to David that his lineage would last forever was now in Solomon's hands. And that is what makes this story so powerful. From Abishag, with her role as a discreet caretaker, to Solomon, with his decisions to consolidate the kingdom, every detail teaches us something about leadership, responsibility, and the impact of small gestures. No matter how grand or humble our position, there is always a purpose in what we do. If this reflection inspires you, don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever found yourself in a silent but essential role? How did this impact your life or the lives of others? As we reflect on the journey of Abishag and other important figures in biblical history, we are led to a fundamental question. What is the true meaning of service and humility? In a world where impact is often measured by titles and grand achievements, the story of Abishag offers us a much deeper and timeless perspective. Abishag was not a queen, nor did she possess any title that guaranteed her prominence. Even so, she played an essential role in one of the most delicate transitions in the history of Israel. Through her quiet dedication, she demonstrated that, Genuine service is not in the desire for recognition, but in the commitment to be present when most needed. This leads us to think, how many times do we overlook the value of seemingly simple gestures that have a lasting impact? In our own lives, how many Abishags cross our path, playing crucial roles that we often don't notice? Be it a friend, a colleague, or even a stranger, these acts of care can transform entire situations. The example of Abishag challenges us to rethink how we view our contributions. Not all actions need the spotlight to be meaningful. Just as King David relied on her presence for his comfort and dignity, we can also find strength in the moments when we put others above ourselves. The Bible often highlights how God uses the humble and the seemingly insignificant to accomplish great things. In 1 Corinthians 1:27, we read, "God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong." It is a powerful reminder that each person has a unique role to play, regardless of their position or origin. Nowadays, we live at a fast pace where the pursuit of status and visibility often overshadows the essence of true service. But when we look at stories like that of Abishag, we are reminded that it is in care, presence, and humility that we find true impact. And now, I want to invite you to reflect. In your life, are there moments when you felt that a small action made a big difference? Or perhaps you have been impacted by someone who, without seeking anything in return, stood by your side in the most difficult moments. These stories connect us and help us understand that in the grand scheme of life, no action is insignificant. If you like this content, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell to follow the upcoming reflections and inspiring stories. Share your thoughts in the comments, because here we value every perspective. We have reached the end of this journey through the story of Abishag, but the reflections she leaves us with remain alive. Her journey, despite being discreet, is a reminder that even the most humble roles can influence the course of history. Abishag teaches us that true impact is not measured by public recognition, but by the willingness to serve with purpose and integrity. As we move forward in our own lives, we are invited to look at the moments when our actions, no matter how small they may seem, have the power to transform situations and touch lives. Perhaps you have already played a role that, like Abishag's, went unnoticed, but was essential for someone. And that, in itself, is already an invaluable lesson. The story of Abishag also challenges us to value those around us who play these silent roles. We live in a world that often celebrates great deeds, but it is in the everyday gestures of care and humility that we find the essence of what it means to make a difference. Now I invite you to reflect. How can you apply Abishag's lessons in your own life? Are there people around you whom you can support or recognize for their quiet contributions? Small acts of kindness and presence can have a much greater impact than we imagine. Remember that each of us is part of something greater. Just as Abishag played her role in God's plan, you also have a unique purpose. Maybe today you don't see the full impact of your actions, but in due time, your efforts can be key pieces in a much larger story. I thank you for being with me on this journey through one of the richest and most reflective stories in the Bible. I hope it has inspired you as much as it inspired me to tell it. And of course, your opinion is very important. Share in the comments how this story touched you, or if there is any lesson you took from it for your life. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do so now to continue exploring more stories like this, full of meaning and learning. Don't forget to like this video and turn on the bell to receive our updates. Together, we can discover even more transformative lessons and explore the impact they can have on our lives. Thank you very much for your company, and until the next story, may we continue this journey of learning and reflection together.